Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe Jaya Radha Rashmi Hari, Radha Rashmi Hari, Radhe Jaya Gaurangi Bangaloreshwar, Gaurangi Bangaloreshwar, Gaurangi Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jaya Sudarshana, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Ananta Dev, Prahlad Narasimha, Jayo Ananta Dev, Jaya Gauranikai, Jaya Gauranikai, Gauranikai, Jaya Nitai, Chaitanya Jaya, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jai Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Sai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prevrajapacharya Stotra Shata. His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya, BBD Founder Acharya, Savior of the whole universe, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prevrajapacharya Stotra Shata. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Das Thakur ki Jai. जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ षड गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। कावेरी माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirajet Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुलंगायतेन्द्रिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So there we go. Welcome all the devotees to this Sunday morning, very special discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. We're discussing today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25. The canto is named The Status Quo, and the chapter is named as The Glories of the Devotional Service. Now, this is post the conversation with Devahuti and Kartam Muni. We're reading from the third verse. Let me open the verse for you. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. So you'll have to give me 1 minute so that I can open it. So try to save my share my screen. I hope the shloka is visible to all the devotees. Yat yat vidyate bhagavan swachandra atma mayaya tani me shraddhanasya kirtanai anukritya yat yat vidyate bhagavan swachandra atma mayaya tani me shraddhanasya kirtanaya anukritya yat yat vidyate bhagavan swachand atma mayaya tani me shraddha tanasya kirtanayai anukritya. Word to word translation: Yat yat, whatever, vidyate, he performs, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Swachandatma, full of self-desire, Atma Mayaya, by his internal potency, Tani, all of them, me, to me, Shraddhanasya, faithful, Kirtanayani, worth of praise, Anukritya, please describe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation: therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. Purport: the word Anukritya is very significant. Anukritya means to follow the descriptions, not to create a concocted mental description, but to follow. Shaunaka Rishi requested Suta Goswami to describe what he had actually heard from the spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord manifested by his internal energy. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no material body, but he can assume any kind of body by his supreme will. This is made possible by his internal energy. We're also looking at the fourth verse. So we will continue with fourth verse as well. Suta vacha dvaipayana sakata evam maitreyo bhagavams tatha prahedeyam viduram prita anvrikshatam prakodita. Suta vacha, Dvaipayana Sakastva Evam Maitreyo Bhagavanstatha Rahedam Viduram Prita Anvriksyam Prakodita Suta Uvacha Dvaipayana Sakastva Evam Maitreyo Bhagavanstatha Rahedam Viduram Prita Anvikshiyam Prakodita. Word-to-word translation for the fourth verse. Suta Vacha. Suta Goswami said, Dvaipayana Sakha, friends of Vyasadeva, to 10. Evam, thus, Maitreya, Bhagavan, worshipful. Tatha, in that way, Praha spoke. Idam, this. Viduram, to Vidura. Rita, being pleased. Anvikshiyam, about transcendental knowledge. Prakodita, being asked. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation of the fourth verse. Sri Suta Goswami said, the most powerful sage, Maitreya, was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Purport. Questions and answers are very satisfactorily dealt with when the inquirer is a bona fide and the speaker is also authorized. Here, Maitreya is considered a powerful sage, and therefore he is also described as Bhagavan. This word can be used not only for Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also for anyone who is almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Maitreya is addressed as Bhagavan because he was spiritually far advanced. He was a personal friend of Vyasadeva, a literally incarnation of Lord. Maitreya was very pleased with the inquiries of Vidura because they were the inquiries of bona fide advanced devotee. Thus, Maitreya was encouraged to answer. When there are discourses on transcendental topics between devotees of equal mentality, the question and answers are very fruitful and encouraging. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 25. And verse number 3 and 4, chapter is titled The Glories of Devotional Service. Om Tat Sat. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lita Shri Vishakamatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances and tribute. Very interesting conversation here, where we are asked not to go behind what is bona fide. And when it is not bona fide, it is advised not to really look at it. And Here in the third verse, very clearly it is said, these precisely described all the activities and pastimes of personality of Godhead. And in the purport, or in the shloka itself, the wonderful word, very, very important, very significant word is anukritya. Anukritya means not to be concocted. No mental concoction is used here. It should be described as it is. That is why we also look at our Bhagavad Gita. We say we are describing whatever Krishna has spoken. We are speaking whatever Krishna has spoken. Our acharyas have spoken whatever Krishna has spoken. So there is no concoction. There is no mental mindset which says some gopis are there in the forest, Krishna is going into the forest. No, nothing like that. Our Shastras, the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and all the other Shastras have been as it is. It is described and there's no mental concoction which is happening here. So it says Anukirtya. Yeah, we don't speculate. We don't speculate at all. We mean that we follow the description which is given and we do not make any concoction. And we speak very strong. That is because we are speaking the truth. We are speaking what has been given in our Shastras. Once Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Hamsadutta Prabhu, and he was really worried. And he said, as we grow big, we may grow weaker and we become useless. So it is very important that we build our fort very strong. And how do you build the fort very strong? Without any mental concoction. You cannot build a very strong fort with mental concoction. It has to be built with strong, solid bricks. So, when we are looking at the Shastras and when we are speaking what has been spoken without our word jugglery, we are building a strong fort. And in the following letter itself, Srila Prabhupada said, we have to train our devotees very strong from our books. This is another conversation where Srila Prabhupada said. And he said, had we compromised, we would have actually grown much, much bigger than what we are. But we do not want to compromise. We will stay strong in what we do. And our basis comes from our books which are there. We would have had many more devotees. We would have had many more temples. We would have really grown big. People would have given more donations. But we never compromised or we never concocted. We never changed the way that we really look at it. And this was the desire of Srila Prabhupada. He said, I do not want my disciples to change any of those things. We have to only speak what is given in our Shastras. And what is given in our Shastras, what is spoken by our Acharyas and what we read in our Shastras. It may take a little time. It may not be immediate, but we don't compromise. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very, very strict. He did not compromise on anything. And he, in one of the lectures, also said that we do not associate with sadhus who do not chastise others. The job of a sadhu or a guru is to chastise and correct his disciple and to correct the public at large. People become actually very purified with chastisement. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj always said that be bold and speak the truth. There is absolutely no need for you to, be very, very goody-goody with everybody. But you have to speak the truth. There's a very nice story that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada described. And, there was a thief. This thief was doing all kinds of activities. He would kill people. He would rob people. He would, do all the bad activities that he would do. And then finally, after a long chase, the police catches him. And once he is caught, then he is taken into the jail. And then there are, as usual, the court cases go on. And at the end, the court, because it finds a lot of evidences against this thief, says that he should be hanged till death. So this was the final decision. And then as the date came closer to his hanging, he's been asked, saying that, what is your last request that you'd like to do? So he says, I would like to speak to my aunt. And this is the same lady. His aunt is the one who actually brought him up and, gave him all the upbringing. So he's intending to talk to her. And when the aunt was called to talk to him while he's there in the jail, he says, I would like to speak. I would like to whisper something in your ears. And as she comes closer, he actually bites the ears. and cuts them. And when he was asked, why did you do so? So he says, you gave me love. You gave me free love without any chastisement. You never corrected me in what I was not doing right. You never told me what was the right thing. And that is the reason today I am at this position. I'm being hanged and I've done all this activities which I should not have done it. So that's the learning, saying that, if we do not chastise, if the sadhus do not chastise, or if they do not correct the disciples, they end up doing all wrong things. And then it is the sadhu who's to be blamed for this. Just before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left his body, he spoke very boldly. There was one particular letter where he spoke about this. I would like to read this letter for the benefit of all of us and for my own benefit. Just before a few days of his departure from this mortal world, on the 23rd of December 1936, he wrote this letter. And Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, I have most probably given many people troubles in their mind. Some of them might have thought about me that I am their enemy, because I was obliged to speak the plain truth for the service and devotion towards the absolute Godhead. I have given them all those troubles only for the reason that they may turn their faces towards personality of Godhead without any desire for gain and unalloyed devotion. I hope someday or the other they may understand me rightly. I advise all of you to preach the teachings of Rupa Raghunatha, disciples of Lord Chaitanya, with all energy and resources. Our ultimate goal shall be to become the dust at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunatha Goswami. You should all work conjointly under the guidance of your spiritual master with view to serve the absolute knowledge and the personality of Godhead. You should somehow or the other, without any quarrel in this mortal world, live peacefully in the service of the Godhead. Do not please give up the service of Godhead in spite of all the dangers, all criticisms, and all discomfort. Do not be disappointed, for most people in the world do not serve the personality of Godhead. Do not give up your own service, which is your everything and all. Neither reject the process of chanting and hearing the transcendental holy name of the Lord. You should always chant the transcendental name of the Lord with patience and forbearance, like a tree, and humble like a straw. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was very clear that we don't speak, we don't have any business to speak something which is concocted. When we say concocted, which is generated by our mind, we only speak what is available in the Shastras. And he also said initially, people will laugh, they may even beat you, they may even want to kill you. But eventually, when you are speaking the truth, they will love you. They will come along with you and they'll follow you. Everybody is eager for appreciation, but he's not ready for the truth. And those who think about being preachers, they should practice this very well. We should not do anukaran. We should do anusar. Anusar means we have to follow what is being said. So that is where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, don't be anukar. You should be an anusar. You should follow the instructions which have been given. Very nicely said, this does not have time for anything. So there's a very nice story. Well, just before the story, I would like to narrate, what is Durga Devi? What do you mean by Durga? Durga means fort, and Devi means the control of the fort. The fort is being very, very strong. When it is built very, very strong, so nobody can break it either from inside or from outside. So Durga Devi, again a great devotee of the Lord, and Maya, the same Durga Devi is also called Maya. She keeps you so busy in her work so that you are not given any time to think about what is spiritual life. Well, in the Christianity, they say, the other name of Maya is called Satan. And the Satan, they all came together once to have a Istogosti, or they came together to have a Kasta Gosti because they were running into problems. They all came together and they said, These days, people are now becoming spiritual. They are reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the other scriptures, and they're not following us. But then our job is to keep them engaged in our service and not in the service of the Lord. They do not want them to progress in the spiritual path. So they come together, have to this discussion, and then they say, what do we do now? Because people have slowly started going away from us. People are, busy in their spiritual lives. So they said, if we have to get them back, the most important part of it will be to cut their connection and to keep them very busy. So today, we see everybody is very busy. If you ask somebody to come to the temple, they say, I'm busy, I've been traveling, I have this work to do, I have that work to do, I have to go and play a match. So they're busy with something or the other. Now, being busy is not just a reason not to be practicing the spiritual life. So Saturn, when they were discussing about this being busy, there was another question which came up saying that how do we keep them busy? Yes, we agree with you that keeping them busy would be the perfect thing to do to keep them away from the spiritual life. But then how do we do that? So then there's another person who answers saying that give them more of material enjoyment, give them more of material gadgets, give them more of electronic gadgets, so that they do not come out of their busy schedules at all. Flood them with everything material. They are so busy that they do not even have time to go to learn about spiritual life. So that is where we see today, while we are driving, we are busy seeing the billboards. While we are driving, you're kept busy with your music in the radios in the car. When you're sitting at home, we are watching TVs. We are also made busy with malls and cinema theaters. So this is all the tricks of Maya. This is all the tricks of Saturn, who says, I have to keep you busy. Recently, there was a very important announcement, or an important thing that the government is thinking of keeping the malls and the theaters open 24/7. So by this, they're trying to keep people busy. If you see in busy streets of the metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, whether you're traveling at 10 in the morning or 12 in the night, you'll always see the roads busy. When you travel to Mumbai, the trains only take 2 hours break in the night. They close at 1 o'clock and restart at 3 o'clock. Whether you enter at 3 o'clock in the morning or you enter at 11:30 in the night, the trains are always full. So here Maya Devi is keeping them busy. Saturn is keeping them busy with so many things. We have so much to do. Added to it, we don't have time for our children. The average study which was done, which says, on an average, the parents, where both the parents are working, they spend 3.5 minutes in a day to talk to their children. Only 3.5 minutes. And what do the children do? They are busy with so many other things. They are given the TVs, they are given the mobiles. There was another study which says by the time a child grows up to about 10 years, he would have seen almost 800 murders in his life. When we see murders, it is through television and through movies and all of that, because it's so freely accessible. There is absolutely no time for anybody. We do not have time for our own spouses. Husband and wife do not spend time together. So when you don't spend time together, how do you really understand each other? And when you cannot understand each other, you cannot live a good life. There is also so much material propaganda saying that they show a very beautiful, slim lady. So the husband starts losing interest in his wife. He only thinks that the bodily look of slim and fit and a glowing skin is only the attachment. Likewise, the wife starts losing her attention because the husband does not give them time. When the husband comes, he is very busy. He is spending 12 hours, 14 hours in the office. By the time he comes back, he is tired, so he's not able to give them time. The wife is very busy with home chores. She is very tired. And that's how she starts having some kind of an attachment towards a third person, which is absolutely bad. In America, it is said 65% of the marriages culminate into divorces. India, it's still a little better. But then in America, 65% of the marriages turn into divorces. They culminate into divorces, which is not a very good sign. Despite the culture being in America where people spend some time together before marriage, together, but still soon after marriage, they divorce each other because they've not had the time to understand each other. They do not take the Shastras as their basis for their relationship. Their relationship is only with their acquisitions, the material acquisitions. Their belongingness of each other is not there at all. They do not, for them, the center of their focus is only I, myself, I, me and myself, only the bodily attractions that they have. Once they find a better looking guy or a girl, they will switch over to that guy. So Maya Devi is actually keeping us busy with so many things, so that we cannot really focus our mind on bhakti or on spiritual life. Likewise, we see now both husband and wife are working. That's the reason they are not able to give time to their children. In the earlier days, we would see our grandparents would always be at home. So despite our parents going out anywhere or traveling anywhere or, attending some social obligations, our grandparents were able to give us some time. We could spend that time and learn from our grandparents. But now the people, because both of them are working, they put their children in creche. They're kept away. The ayahs are taking care of them. The caretakers are taking care of them. And parents are not taking care of them. Who gives them the knowledge then? Do you think the creche and the ayahs and the caretakers are able to give them knowledge? No, they will not give them spiritual knowledge because they are also busy. They are busy when you leave the house, children behind at home. And when you leave the house, the servant gets onto the mobile phone. They start using their mobile or keep watching the TV all through the day. They are least bothered about the children who are left behind. So when both husband and wife were working, they do not give time to their children. They are only looking at money. And why are they looking at money? Because their needs have become so high. They want to eat outside. They want to have vacations. They want to have trips outside. They want to spend time in entertainment. But what kind of entertainment? It's only for a little while that it keeps you busy. Sort of de-stresses you again. You are back into the stress after those 2-3 hours. On an average, we see every, youngster or an earning member has 4 or 5 credit cards. And you get into the debt trap. The debt, they keep servicing. By the time their salary comes by the first of the month, the whole salary goes on the second by servicing their loans or their credit cards. For everything, they spend money. They just want to have everything material in life. Car, house, villas, plots, and all of that. Not realizing that it is making them work far and beyond that they should be working. As a human life is concerned, we should plan it so well that we spend only 30% of our time in material gain. The rest, 60% of the time, 70% of the time should be spent on spiritual advancement and taking rest, which is very, very important. But then people don't realize they get into this debt trap and then, keep servicing the cards. Both husband and wife have to work because they have to pay the loan because their expenses are so high. So likewise, Maya is keeping us very, very busy. Satan is keeping us very, very busy so that our focus does not go towards bhakti. Our focus does not go towards spiritual life. And that's the reason. What is the meaning of busy? B-U-S-Y. Being under Satan's yoke. Yoke is, a hook. So being under Maya's hook. They've captured us. When you are on the hook, you can't move around anywhere. I'm sure some of you must have seen when there's a hook which is put into either the river or the ocean. And when the fish gets caught into the yoke, it can't move anywhere. And then the yoke can pull out the fish and sell it outside. Likewise, busy means being under Satan's yoke. We are all under the yoke and we need to free ourselves and When can we free ourselves? Only when we have a little time. And when we have time, we should read the Shastras. So it is very nicely said, there are 9 processes of devotional service. This comes in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prahlad Maharaj describes this. He says to hear about Lord Vishnu's transcendental name, his form, his characteristics, his possessions, and his pastimes, and to hear and chant about his pastimes, to remember them, to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, to respectfully offer service to the Lord, to offer prayers to the Lord, to become a servant, to consider Lord as one of his best friends, and offer him everything, is this 9 processes recognized as pure devotional service. Now let's look at this 9 processes of pure devotional service. Hearing, Shravanam. Maharaj Parikshit perfected this art. Last 7 days of his life, he constantly heard Srimad Bhagavatam. He did not eat, he did not drink, he did not sleep. He perfected his life just by Shravanam, by hearing. Second one is Kirtanam. Kirtanam is chanting, speaking. Shukadev Goswami, who's speaking the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, perfected his life by just speaking. Vishnu Smaranam. Prahlad Maharaj, he never forgot Krishna despite all the constant tortures that he had from his demonic father. So that is Vishnu Smaranam, remembering. Then comes Pada Sevanam. Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is always engaged in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Archanam. Maharaj Prithu used all his royal possessions, all the kingly, endeavors that he did, all those possessions that he had, to offer them in pure devotional service to the Lord. That's called Archanam, offering, deity worship. Vandanam. Vandanam is offering prayers. Akrura perfected his life just by offering prayers to the Lord. That's prayers. Dasyam. Hanuman is the greatest example whom you can see. As a very intimate servant of Lord Ramachandra, he executed all the orders of Lord Ramachandra. Despite all difficulties, it was not very easy to go to Lanka. It was not easy to fight with the army of Lanka. It was very, very difficult, but he executed all the orders, fighting with the army of Ravana. That's called Dasyam, that is executing the orders. Sakyam. Sakyam, the example here is Arjuna, who was very close to Krishna. So serving the Lord as a friend, the Lord offered himself to become his chariot driver and serve Arjuna and his brothers in various ways. So that's the way that one can perfect their life. And Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam means complete surrender. And the example here given is of Bali Maharaj, who gave Lord Vamandev his entire kingdom, his possessions, and everything, including his own body. Although his own spiritual master warned him, saying that don't do it. This is Lord Vishnu who's come in guise. But he didn't listen to it because he said, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I would like to offer myself to him. Now, these are the 9 processes of devotional service. Very, very important. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. But then, apart from this, there are top 5 limbs of devotional service. And this top 5 limbs of devotional service are Sadhu Sangha, Namakirtan, Bhagavata Shravana, Mathura Vas, and Sri Murti Sevana. Sadhu Sangha is associating with like-minded people. This material world doesn't allow us to associate with like-minded people. And going beyond the like-minded people is when we meet devotees, we should not do prajalpa, we should not be talking anything which is not connected with Krishna. So that's a limb of devotional service. Namakirtan. Namakirtan is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very nicely, every day, our prescribed rounds have to be done. Very nicely. And we have to also go out for Sankirtan. Apart from this, the other important devotional service or limb of devotional service is Bhagavad Shravanam. Like all of you are hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha in the morning. I'm having the opportunity to speak Bhagavatam by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So Bhagavad Shravanam is very, very important. As a devotee, we should spend our time in doing so. Mathuravas. Mathuravas is, if we translate that in English, it says staying in the holy dham. Whereas some of us will have this question saying that we are staying in Bangalore. It is not a holy dham. Do we migrate all the way to Sridham Mayapur or Sridham Vrindavan, or do we migrate to Jagannath Puri or to the kingdom of Lord Dwarika? No, you can actually make the place dham wherever you are staying by preaching the holy name of the Lord, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, doing Nama Sankirtan, and associating and serving Vaishnavas. So wherever you are staying, in whatever position you are there, you can continue to become a devotee or to stay in the holy dham. For Srila Prabhupada, America was the dham because that is where he was doing his sadhana. He was preaching so extensively in the US. So for a devotee, wherever he goes, it is Mathuravas. And Sri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana, offering services, loving devotional service to the deities, to the lordships, is another limb of devotional service. So we see here that it is very important for devotees to follow this 9 processes of bhakti, 9 processes of devotional service, and the limbs of devotional service are also very important to support us grow in our spiritual life. So the bottom line here in our today's discussion is very clear, saying that we should be away from being busy. What is being busy? Being under Satan's yoke. And spending time for ourselves, spending time, when I say ourselves, not by sleeping. Spending time for ourselves, reading, reflecting on Srimad Bhagavatam, realizing, understanding, also preaching. And be away from Satan, be away from Maya. Also, very important in the verse was Anukirtya. Anukirtya means stay away from concoction. When we are reading the authorized scriptures or hearing from the authorized devotees, then we don't deviate, we don't concoct. So that is also a very important part of our spiritual life. So I think the time is over. I will stop the discussion here. If devotees have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, or if you want to make a comment, I'm happy to accept it. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. So we'll have any questions if you have with regard to today's verse, or in case if you have any other question, I will try to answer that as well. So I safely assume that there are no questions with regard to today's conversation and discussion that we have had. We've all understood the verse very well. 3 very important things that we really discussed today was, the first one is no mental concoction. We should only read the Shastras as it is given from the bona fide spiritual master. That's the first understanding. Second one is to stay away from the so-called being busy in the material life. Spend some time for ourselves in reflecting what we read in Srimad Bhagavatam. Spend some time for ourselves by practicing Krishna consciousness. And the third one is the 9 processes of devotional service and the 5 limbs of devotional service. If we practice this, there's a guarantee that we don't have to come back here to the material world. We will go back home, back to Godhead without fail. And that's an assurance given by our acharyas and our shastras. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.